Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the November 4th, 2021 meeting of the City of Gig Harbor Planning Commission. Want to start off by taking roll. I am Commissioner Greg Hooksma, Chair of the Commission. Commissioner Soltis.
Here.
Commissioner Krasik.
Here.
Commissioner Greina.
Here.
Commissioner Brown. You're muted there, Tom.
Sorry, here.
And Commissioner Bennett.
Here.
And with the city staff, we have Carl DeSimas.
Here.
And as always, the ever helpful Michelle Thomas.
Here.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. And also would like to welcome the folks that have joined us out there by Zoom. I see that we have 4 additional attendees. So welcome to you all. So on our agenda this evening, the first item is to approve the minutes of our last meeting. So is there any discussion or corrections on those minutes? If not, I'm willing to entertain a motion.
I move for approval of the minutes.
Second it.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 So the motion passes unanimously. So the second item on our agenda is the public hearing that we're having this evening. This is an open public meeting. The public is allowed to attend and can comment on the items being reviewed during the comment period later in the meeting. For all of you that are attending virtually, which is all of you, you can give comment by pressing the raised hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you're calling in by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone. And when using your phone to call in, you may need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Your name or the last 3 digits of your phone number will be called out when it is your turn to speak. That, again, the open public comment period will be a little bit later on, so please don't raise your hand yet. I will make an announcement when the public hearing opens. So at this time, I would like to turn over to Carl DeSimas for the staff report on the comprehensive plan amendment. And if all the commissioners could please mute their microphones.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening to you and the Planning Commission and members of the public in attendance tonight. I would like to first start out by apologizing to those attendees who provided comment and received an email response stating that the hearing tonight was beginning at 5:30. This was entirely my fault, and I apologize vehemently for any inconvenience that this might have caused anyone. I would like to say that the hearing was properly noticed, however, and that the city's website did reflect the correct start time of 6 o'clock this evening. So again, just would like to apologize if this was inconvenient for anyone, and from there I'll carry on with my staff report. This request is a citywide text amendment to create a new arts and culture element to the city's comprehensive plan. The request was brought forward by the city's art commission. And those applicants believe that embracing, encouraging the arts is an important tool in building community and the economy, and that Gig Harbor should be a place where things aren't just done efficiently and professionally, but artfully and gracefully. The application was first proposed by the Arts Commission in 2018 and was placed on the council docket in 2019. It was initiated by council, but it was initiated to be only processed as staff time allowed. Staff time did not allow for processing of the amendment during 2019, nor was it did it allow for time during the 2020. And of course, we had COVID pandemic that sort of interrupted things a bit there as well. So it was brought back before council for the 2021 docket and then reinitiated. this time requiring staff to bring it before the Planning Commission, a public process, and returning to council with a recommendation from the Planning Commission. After it was reinitiated, staff went back to the Arts Commission and worked with a consultant to hone the language in the application before bringing it back to Planning Commission, or I apologize, bringing it to Planning Commission for a study session on October 7th, 2021. This was the first time that the Planning Commission had studied the amendment since its initial submittal back in 2018. During the docket hearings in February 2021, the council received several comments that have been included in the commission's packets for this evening. Also, during the public comment period leading up to this hearing, staff received several comments that have been provided to the commission for their consideration. Comments heard in both cases have been supportive of this amendment going forward. A determination of non-significance was issued under SEPA on October 19th, 2021. The comment period for SEPA ended November 3rd, and the appeal period will end on November 10th. Staff has provided an analysis of the amendment against the criteria codified under Gig Harbor Municipal Code 1909-170 for amending the comprehensive plan. In staff's opinion, the amendment does generally meet with those criteria. Staff recommends that the commission conduct the public hearing this evening, consider those written and verbal comments provided, and make a motion to recommend that council either adopt the amendment as written, adopt the amendment with specified edits, or deny the amendment. And then there's two additional items of note. One, that last night, the Arts Commission at its November 3rd meeting made a motion and asked that staff read it into the record. And so I'm going to do that now. And this is their motion. I move that the Parks Commission express its support for the inclusion of an arts and culture component in the City of Gig Harbor's comprehensive plan, and ask staff to convey that support to them through a copy of this motion. The Parks Commission encourages the growth of all aspects of art and culture in the city and pledges to work together with the Arts Commission to increase the presence of art in our parks based on a broad sense of the definition of art and culture. Also, another correction, the staff report refers to Exhibit F, which was accidentally left out of your packets. That exhibit included one comment relative to the SEPA determination of non-significance. And I'd like to read that into the record now so that it doesn't get lost moving forward. Bear with me one moment while I dig that up. Where did I put it? So this was sent on Tuesday, October 26, 2021. It says, "Hello, Michelle. Thank you for contacting the Squaxin Island Tribe Cultural Resource Department regarding the above listed project for our review and comment. We have no specific cultural resource concerns for this project. However, if the Department of Archaeological and Historic Resources recommends a survey or any other additional recommendations, we concur with their recommendations. We prefer to receive an electronic copy by email once completed. If any archaeological or cultural resources are uncovered during implementation, please halt work in the area of discovery and contact DAP and the Squaxin Island Tribe's archaeologist, Sean DeNublio, via email at sdenublio@squaxin.us. Signed, Sean DeNublio, Archaeologist, Cultural Resource Department, Squaxin Island Tribe, 200 Southeast Billy Frank Jr. Way, Shelton, Washington, 98584. And then the office phone, cell phone, email are provided. Email is my preferred method of communication." This concludes the staff presentation, Chair, and I am available for clarifying questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you very much, Carl. So at this point, I'd like to have the commissioners have the opportunity to just ask for any clarification of the staff on their presentation.
I have a question.
Okay, Commissioner Grena?
On page 2 of 6 at the very bottom, there's item D. It says the proposed amendment advances the public interest and there's something missing there. I just was curious what it might be.
So
It's
Uh,
on the staff report, the bottom of page 2 of 6.
I see that, Commissioner Grina. And so that's exactly how it's written in the code. So it's a list of criteria, and each of the criteria, so it says, if you look at C,
Oh, it's the
it gives
same.
the criteria and then says and, so it's just kind of legalese, really.
Oh, okay. And it just popped out because it was at the bottom of that page.
Yeah,
Got
you're
it.
right. It's just a little awkward where it kind of
Yeah.
landed on the page. I
Okay,
apologize
yeah,
for
I
that.
see him above. Thank you for the clarification.
You're very welcome.
Anybody else have any questions, clarifications? Okay. Well, thanks again, Carl. Appreciate your good work as always. So at this point in the meeting, I'm going to open the public comment period. And again, just as a reminder, if you would like to speak, you can give comment by pressing the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window. You should be able to find it somewhere down there. It's a little yellow hand. And then we will call on you in order, although in no particular order. It's just because I can't see who raised their hand first. But everyone that wants to speak will have a chance to speak. If there's anyone calling in by phone, then press *9 on your phone to be recognized. That will allow you to raise your hand. And you may need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Your name or the last 3 digits of your phone number will be called out when it is your turn to speak. I would ask that you provide your name and address at the beginning of your comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. The comment should relate to the specific project that we are reviewing here tonight. If you have any questions or comments on the project that are not specific to the items being reviewed tonight, please contact staff at the end of the meeting or during work hours in the planning department. I would just also like to let you know that we will be strict about the 3-minute mark. So Michelle there, as you can see, has a timer. If you would start that timer after they finish stating their name and their address, Michelle, I would appreciate that. And then at 3 minutes, just turn their microphone off. Okay, so at this point, I see that Jenny W., who I believe is Jenny Wook, has her hand raised. So Miss Wook.
I believe I'm unmuted. Is that correct?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. So good evening. I'm Jenny Wook, 3412 Lewis Street in Gig Harbor. Mr. Chair and Planning Commission members, thank you for allowing public comment this evening. The cultural and artistic tradition of Gig Harbor have a long and interesting history to draw upon, extending from the Puyallup tribe with rock art, pottery, basketry to the contemporary with Gig Harbor, and among things like the Summer Art Festival. The Harbor History Museum uses land and zoning for their building, and inside that building are many cultural and artistic artifacts from the first indigenous people in Gig Harbor. We are now using the land outside the Harbor History Museum as a designated space for an honorary project, a wonderful piece of art sculpture created by a member of the indigenous tribe. Our comprehensive plan values open spaces. Trees in some of the open spaces have been carved with wonderful, delightful designs. We have a wonderful piece of land on Vernhardsen with another piece of wonderful art sculpture from a tree. We are using the land and zoning on Judson Street for the Summer Art Festival that is held every year for about 22 years. This use of land brings in 10 to 15,000 people daily to Judson Street, adding to our economy. We have a Gig Harbor Film Festival on land that is zoned for a film festival. Gig Harbor is currently using land and zoning for artistic and cultural events, but the city hasn't said these uses are important to the vision of Gig Harbor. Including an arts element to our comprehensive plan makes a very important statement about our community and about visioning in Gig Harbor. Citizens demonstrate the importance of artistic and cultural events by their attendance. Many other cities have added an arts element to the comprehensive plan. Gig Harbor is not leading the way. Just as our citizens care about the quality of roads and density of housing, they have clearly said arts are important to their part of life and the vision of Gig Harbor. It's my personal opinion that it's time for our city to recognize the value of importance of art and culture in Gig Harbor. It's important to add this chapter into the comprehensive plan, and I ask you to consider recommending this motion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your input. We appreciate the involvement of the community. And I just would like to also say on the record here that we have received many comments from the public in written form. All of those have been submitted through the staff department and have been reviewed by the Planning Commission prior to this evening's meeting, and they are a matter of public record.
Chair, thank you for that. Could I also note, just based on the previous commenter, that I'd just like the commission to recognize that Ms. Wook is a member of the city council, and that her comments should be viewed as those coming from a member of the public.
Okay, thank you. Somehow I've turned my video off. Okay. Next hand that I see is Barbara Hammerman.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Barbara Hammerman, and the address is 4810 Point Fosdick Drive in Gig Harbor. And I am here writing in support, and I have written something to be added to the record tonight. And I'm here tonight in support of the proposal for adopting the arts and culture element. And this is in order to further benefit the economic development and vibrancy of life and institutions in Gig Harbor, Washington. You know, the data available in the reports generated for this purpose, the public testimony and other communication contains specific examples from other cities, as well as projected benefits for Gig Harbor. I've been privileged to serve on the Arts Commission committee that has considered this for some years, and I believe the proposal is strong and will have committed support from the people and businesses and organizations in the Gig Harbor area and beyond. Several points in that data were especially persuasive for me, and those were really 5 points. One, a populace which has a higher than average level of education, and all of these lead, I believe, to stronger support and success of including the arts element within our system of governance. The second thing is community organizations that really are dedicated to the pursuit and preservation of art. They're abundant in our community. We also have sufficient population plus growth of the demographic population element to support those who are seeking art engagement. Fourth, a transportation system that supports participation. And fifth, a greater than average income and time that is usually signaled in these reports that bode for success. We know that people are attracted to locations which consistently offer visual and performing arts engagement opportunities. This in turn supports lodging and food service and is a magnet for people to move into the area that has demonstrated this commitment. Economic health is only one of the measurements for an overall assessment of livability in a community. And I know Gig Harbor and the various governmental aspects have made this clear both in your actions and statements over the years. And I believe that adding this arts element to our system of governance will solidify that commitment. And those of us in the United by Music North America program and band are grateful to have been selected for grants from the city's Creative Endeavor Fund and the Lodging and Tax Fund. Our personal experience in preparing for and executing those activities have provided numerous examples of people seeking and appreciating artistic expression and participation in our community. Adopting this proposed arts element within our governance system will demonstrate the sustained commitment with intention to creating more of those opportunities and the institutions and the infrastructure to support those activities. Respectfully offered. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hammerman. We really appreciate your input as well and your thoughtful comments. Let me see. So at this point, I don't see any other participants or hands raised. Do you, Michelle, on your screen? Okay. Given that, then I am closing this portion of the meeting. So the public hearing is now closed and we will take no further public comment. Let's see here. Switching tabs. At this point, I would like to invite the Arts Commission representatives who are here, Charlie Glock Jackson and Robin Avney. And I believe that we heard from you at our meeting a couple of weeks ago, but we would like to afford you 5 minutes to provide any additional insight this evening.
It will just take a second. I had to move them to panelists so that they can present.
Yes, we were promoted to panelist.
Yes, okay.
That was-
Congratulations.
Thank you. What a night. What a way to finish the day.
Absolutely. And I need to say that once again, my camera is not working. Apparently there's some problem that we just discovered with my camera in my computer. So
Okay.
that's going to take some, I think, a trip to the Apple store to find out if one of the geniuses can turn my camera on for me. So meanwhile, I am the faceless voice. So thank you very much. Carl or Michelle, can you show the file that we sent called From the Arts Commission? It's a PDF. There's another one called that's entitled From the Arts Commission. And the headline is the need for the cultural and arts element. Robin, maybe if you bring that up, you could share your screen.
I do have it up. So if you would like me to share my screen, I can.
May she do that, please?
You should be able to. All the panelists have screen sharing ability.
Okay, great. Let me know. Can you see that?
I can see it.
Yes.
Can everyone else see it? Okay.
You need
Yes,
me to make it a little bigger, or is it
yes, please.
okay?
Significant.
We're gonna read from this for you. So we'll but Charlie, you want to go ahead?
Sure, I can go ahead. Thank you.
And then I can pick it up whenever you want.
Okay, so first, thank you to the Planning Commission for allowing us to have this public hearing. Thank you to the speakers, and thank you to all the many people who I understand send in letters of support. We also want to thank the City Council and the Parks Commission and the citizens of Gig Harbor for their ongoing support for the arts and culture in our community. The support and funding we have received has been instrumental to the success of a multitude of cultural events and public arts projects in our community. And here are just a few of the recent examples. Robin, you want to talk about those?
Yeah, well, we wanted to showcase in particular the Make Music Day that Barbara Haberman was referring to, which was a summer solstice celebration. This was a project that also received some sponsorship grants from the Arts Commission as well. The Harbor Art Project, which Jenny Wook referred to, is one of where we're working with the Parks Commission on different areas in the city where there are identifiable snags, and they've become quite popular as places to call out among the trails. the most recent poetry walk is another Gig Harbor Arts grant that was supported, which was really wonderfully received. And we had Jennifer Kushkoff, who created, collected poems from 9 local poets, all of diverse backgrounds. And it became incredibly popular and enjoyable for people to witness as they walked along the path. Peninsula Hands-On Art has been able to do 2 additional projects. They have a tremendous reach, so we are also reaching and working within the schools themselves, as also evidenced by the Gig Harbor High School Band, who have such spirit and have come in and talked to us about many projects, and we are happy to support them with their training and performances that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do without the community's support. What I think it's important to notice is that very few of these projects actually engage in what we call public art or statues in park, which is why we work with the Parks Commission on the land elements, but we also work beyond the Parks Commission, which is why we're looking to another reason to institute this element. These activities are culturally significant, and they serve to highlight the community interests that occur beyond the domain of the Parks Commission. So this is also another reason why we want to be a standalone element. And these, from our summer arts fair, which you heard mentioned, to public arts, to grants, these drive economic growth by supporting our surrounding businesses, eateries, and our retail shops. And most evident is the numbers that are associated with the Summer Arts Festival, but every shop and every restaurant and every retail shop gets influenced by the people who come to town, whether it's for a concert, for the arts in the art show in the summer, or other activities, and it's directly into benefits the community, the citizens, and its businesses. Did you want to pick it up from there, Charlie?
Sure, I can. As our city matures, it's important that Gig Harbor make note of this creative and cultural shift and adopt the arts and culture element into the comprehensive plan. This element is the next step that the Arts Commission, members of the ad hoc committee that helped create this plan, and our surveyed citizens believe is needed to acknowledge the importance of arts in our community. The arts and culture element is a significant step for the future of Gig Harbor. Adding the element to the comprehensive plan as an independent section will clearly state that arts and culture are essential to the continuing growth and development of our community's economy, education, and quality of life. And we will happily answer any questions.
Thank you.
We also have another slideshow that we could show that gives some examples of the kinds of art and culture that we're talking about: film festival, music, dance, jewelry, poetry, all the capital A arts that are so important to the creative spirit of our community.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think the 5 minutes has expired. So I appreciate the offer there, but I think all of us have an understanding, and as we walk around the city, we see the good work that you all have been doing already. So certainly important stuff. So I would like to give the commissioners an opportunity to ask any questions they have specifically about what you just heard from the Arts Commission before we remove them as panelists and put them back into the attendee status. So
before we get demoted.
please focus your questions just on any clarification of what you just heard. Commissioner Krosick, I see your hand is up.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Question is, one of the things I see really important as part of culture is history. And I wanted to just kind of get the sense from the arts commissioners how that fits into what you are proposing here.
Well, that's a really great question, and I'm going to take the first part of it and let Charlie answer the second. That is exactly why we want to move to, instead of an arts plan, an arts and culture plan, because culture is a deep part of history and heritage, and that is key. And Charlie, do you want to talk about our most recent project that we've been involved with along with I don't know what to call them. They're not statues, but in the park near the History Museum.
Oh, yes, the honoring project.
Yeah.
That one? Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a project that received funding from the Arts Commission. And I personally have been involved in the committee that is creating that. It is a carved cedar statue that has been carved by a native carver that is honoring the Squabosh band of the Puyallup tribe, who were the original inhabitants of Gig Harbor. You are, I'm sure, aware that the what used to be called Austin Estuary is now called Tuwalkuth Estuary, because that was the name that the Squabosh people gave to that area. That means a place where game exists. And the name Squabosh, the name of the band, means swift, people of the swift water. And this is, I think, a good example, thank you for referencing it, Robin, of how art and culture and history are intrinsically combined. All our threads in the great fabric of our cultural and artistic and historic identity. So, Council Commissioner, does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Greg,
Sure, go ahead.
thank you
Commissioner
for coming to present tonight to us. I've been kind of parsing through a lot of this information about the Arts Commission, and I'm a financial background person. I kind of wonder how the funding currently flows from the city to the Arts Commission, if there is funding, and what you kind of foresee for the future in terms of the City Arts Commission relationship. It's an unusual relationship from my perspective. I haven't gotten any money from anybody yet. I'm not sure the Planning Commissioner's got any, but how do the funds flow?
Carl, do you want to take that on? I mean, you're a city person. I can take a stab at it, but you have a wonderful smile on your face. So
I don't know exactly how the funds flow, Commissioner
Okay.
Soltis. I don't have the answer to that. As far as I am aware, there is funding in the budget for the Arts Commission. The Arts Commission provides, I know that the Arts Commission provides a report, an annual report back to the council, what has been accomplished for the year, and in hopes of receiving those same funds for the following budget year, or biennial, if we're in a biennial budget, whichever way it goes. And that's about as far as my knowledge of that goes, to be honest. I mean, it really is more of a public works function, the Arts Commission, than it is community development.
I can add a little bit to what Carl is saying. Thanks, Carl. Good stab at it. We are currently funded. Well, we're funded two ways. One through the general fund in a standalone public art fund that is specifically designated for statues and parks, public art projects. We are also funded through the Parks Commission budget. We are part of that, whatever it is, $1 million Parks Commission PROS fund. And
A very small part.
a very small part. I think we have, out of that $1 million+ dollars, we get about, I don't know, $50,000 or something like that. And from that, we do all the programs that we want to do. The Harbor Arbor Art, the grant funding. We have in the past, and hopefully in the future, we'll be able to present public workshops on things like how to make friends with the media, so that not just artists, but our small businesses can know how to interact with newspapers and television and radio stations to get publicity. How do you write a press release, for example? But that whole budget filters down through the Parks Pros budget. And there's so much more that we could do. I mean, we appreciate boundlessly the relationship that we have with the Parks Commission. But as we're trying to say, the arts and culture are so much broader than just statues and parks. And for the city to recognize that and give designated funding to arts, capital A arts and cultural projects will be a big step in our recognizing their value and their importance to our quality of life. Does that help?
That helps very much. Thank you.
Okay.
But, following up to that question, so there's been a lot of reference to grants, and you mentioned what sound like grants from within the city budget. But what about, can you tell me about grants you've received from external sources? And I would think that would be a direct funding source.
Charlie, want me to take a stab at that?
Sure, you go right ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Just as an FYI, I also I'm a commissioner for the Washington State Arts Commission as well, representing our area. And what this enables us to do is to help to move programming forward, and with an official recognition, no longer just, kind of a side recognition, allows us, it could open us up to other opportunities to get additional funding for projects, for, there's several arts projects out there that coordinate with the schools and with the Arts Commission and the State Arts Commission. There's several projects, potential projects out there that are about creating creative districts, which then if you do that and you have a solidified approach for your city, you can open up your opportunity for additional funding on a state and a national level. So this is just the very first baby step to be able to position us and have the blessing, if you will, to move forward and to begin to embrace other types of opportunities. Charlie, you want to add anything to that?
No, only that in Commissioner Huxma, in specific answer to your question, we don't get any external grants at all. Our entire budget comes either through the Parks Commission's budget or that public art fund within the city's general fund. As Robin said, having positioning arts and culture as a standalone item of importance in the city's comprehensive plan opens up untold opportunities for us to receive grants from other sources. We could apply for a national NEA grant, for example. We could apply for grants from the Washington State Arts Commission, from foundations that give grants to support arts and culture. This is just the first step, as Robin said, Commissioner Avni said, as in opening that door for us. We would love more funding.
Yeah, right. I think that's I've never heard that before. Can you help me understand though? I don't. I appreciate the point that you're making. With a standalone element, that's a message. But I'm not understanding why, to an external source, when I believe the fact is that most cities don't have a standalone element. Some forward-thinking cities have taken that step. that why would you be limited in your ability to apply for an external grant based on where the wording exists in our city's comprehensive plan?
Well, I think some of it has to do with, so like with the creative district opportunities, you actually have to be designated a creative district and you have to work within the city to make that happen. And this part of this will give us that endorsement that we need. The other part is that that we are also in terms of looking at other grants, we're not standalone. We're under the parks, so that means we have to work with various. We have to the material has to come through the place where we sit under, is one of the reasons as well. And I think that also just being a legitimate body, it means that we can operate a little more independently in seeking some of these out. I think also some of them many of them, unless it's a specific project, which we can get endorsed, we're not going to be able to get, you're not eligible. However, all that said, what I really, think is important in terms of looking at the standalone element, and also, in terms of this funding, is to realize that we get very little. We get just a little bit of money from the city. These Endeavor grants that we give out, we limit them to around $2,000 to $3,000, and we don't give out many of them. We just have a very small budget for that. It's made a huge amount of difference that the city has supported this. And it's made a huge amount of difference for individual organizations in the city that otherwise couldn't do a lot of these things, like the Gig Harbor Band or other things. So it's reaching a broad grassroots support in the community. Charlie, do you want to add anything?
I don't think I have anything to add. That was wonderful. Thank you, Robin.
All right, thanks so much. Okay, any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The work you've already done around the city, and your enthusiasm, and your presentation to us tonight. It's been educational.
Thank you. Now, please recommend that we have a standalone arts element. All right. I'm asking for the sale.
Yeah. Join your partners in the parks with the
join other cities.
Yes, and I will actually add, that's a good point, Charlie. Other cities do have standalone elements, not just big cities. Paulsbo has one, and
Bainbridge Island
has one, so it's
we appreciate that. That was in the information you gave to us in our packet.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye now. Okay, Michelle, if you can just confirm once they're back as attendees.
They're attendees now.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, commissioners, it's time for us to deliberate. And just one of the commissioners had asked before everyone come on is what is our goal this evening? And what we're looking for here is that the council has asked us to study this. They've asked for the planning commission to give its usual thoughtful take on it and make a recommendation to them. So we could recommend that, any number of things. We could recommend that, yes, we agree it should be a separate element. We could recommend no, we don't think so, or we could, recommend something other than that, or we could say, here are the pros and cons of that, and we recommend you make a decision, City Council. So I think we have lots of different opportunities here about how we can approach this. So anyway, I welcome your deliberations. And you may as well just all unmute at this point. But maybe you can, we've done pretty well, just people being able to speak up. If you get too unruly, then I'll just have to ask you to raise your hand.
And Chair, I'd just throw in relative to your question or the questions about the finances for the Arts Commission. I do have the 2022 preliminary budget that's posted on the website pulled up, and I could show commissioners, if there's any interest, what is proposed in their budget at this point.
Okay.
Did you
Carl, what
show
is
us
the
that?
number?
I will show you if that is interesting to everybody. This is the preliminary 2022 budget, so it's not quite done yet, but these are the items that are proposed for the Arts Commission. It falls under Public Works, but it gives a description and function of the Arts Commission, and then gives the Arts Commission operating narrative for goals. This is how our budget is laid out. So then he gives all the goals. And then it provides the sort of our operating narrative of objectives and any dollars associated with those.
So really, we're looking at about $36,000.
Yes, and I will say that it doesn't, the element, inclusion of the element in the comp plan would, at this stage anyway, would have little effect on this. This is already happening regardless of whether or not the element is in the comp plan.
I'm generally supportive of the idea of adding this to the comprehensive plan. I think one of the things that struck me was a comment that was made here in the hearing tonight about securing funds from outside sources, and that's state, federal grants, foundations, tribal grants, and generous individuals in the community. And I think having this in the comprehensive plan is something that gives weight when we go out and we look for grants in this area. I think it's really helpful to have that in there because it shows how seriously the city is taking this. I don't know if we want to do any wordsmithing on the actual language itself. I think there might be a few areas that we might want to take a look at. I don't know how the other commissioners feel about it, but generally, I think this is something that we want to move forward with. And if we need some additional sessions on this, I'd be happy to suggest that we do that.
I'll take a shot at it. I concur with John's comments. I think it's probably it's a very good thing to do. The broad base of support for this from the Chamber of Commerce to the, of course, the Arts Commission people are in favor of it, and I get that. But other community members as well have weighed in, and I think the City Council has been, showing its support of the idea by providing funding for the consultant to help rewrite the comprehensive plan element. So there seems to be a lot of support for it across the community. I would like to talk about some of the language in it. There's a couple of areas that I think could be improved, but I would like to, talk about that a little bit later after we get a general sense from everybody else about including it as a separate element.
I can say that I'm also in agreement with both Commissioners Krozak and Soltis. After our first meeting, or the meeting we had last about it, I was kind of questioning the need for it, since that was brought up in conversation about the need for incorporating this into the comprehensive plan. But the more I went into looking actually at our comprehensive plan and understanding that it doesn't have to have completely actionable items in it, and reading just on the website alone that I've pulled up here that says the comprehensive plan expresses Gig Harbor's vision of itself and what it would like to become. The plan integrates citizens' ideas, concerns, and preferences into statements on how the city should be developed. It feels like this element makes sense to be put in there, and it's not going to be something that's an outlier in terms of all of the other elements within the plan. Also, in seeing that we have a commission related to the arts that was created in the early 2000s, shows the commitment that the city has created a group of people to oversee the arts within the city. It makes sense that having it documented within the plan just kind of adds one more validation to that as well. So I would have to say that I'm in favor of putting it in. Also up for discussion on the terminology and the text within it to make sure that everything works within that.
Thank you.
I would just like to say that there are a couple of concerns I have. I mean, I appreciate the importance, and I know they've done an outstanding job presenting their side of things. The concerns that I have is, look what's going on in the country. Everyone has their own opinions about what's acceptable and what's not, and what's offensive and what's not. And I'm a little hesitant in, going down this road. What does that look like for the city dealing with how things are currently that way? So I just wanted to bring that up. The other thing that and again, I think the Art Commission has done a remarkable job in the past with the support of the city. And again, I think it would be a great thing. I'm somewhat concerned that I think there are a lot of other issues that the city is having to deal with currently that seem to me to be perhaps bigger priorities in this. So I just want those things to be considered as well.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Brown, you unmuted, or did you have a comment?
I'm in favor of endorsing this.
Okay. Well, thank you all for those thoughts. I have some other thoughts, and it's going to sound like I'm opposed to this, but that's not necessarily the case. But it dovetails into something Commissioner Griner said and something Commissioner Bennett said, and the others as well, for that matter. But I think nobody questions the value of arts and the things that the positive impacts that it can have in a community, the impacts it can have on recidivism rates, in a prison system, the positive effects it can have in high schools and for kids that aren't, leaning towards STEM. And so I don't think anybody can discount that, because those aren't just notions, those are proven, with scientific studies, as well as, we all feel good about the arts. I share Commissioner Griner's concern about what the priorities are and the amount of work that the city has to do. I don't understand, and I wasn't convinced by moving this to being a separate element within the comprehensive plan. There's no more money to be had in the city's budget. And so this would be shifted over, and that $36,000 would be shifted over with it, I would presume. I am also impressed with not only the enthusiasm and professionalism of representatives from the Arts Commission and the public comments, but they're doing a bang up job with the way things are right now. And this language is not, this language is in our comprehensive plan. It just happens to be underneath another element. And that element is, I can't remember exactly what the title of the element is, but I read it today as I was reviewing all of the materials there. And so, although it's not directly related, because there was some refinement done to it as it's being proposed as a separate element. But the bottom line is the gist of the language already exists in the city's comprehensive plan. So given how successful things are and the many programs that rightfully have been, and I don't mean this in a pejorative sense, but rightfully have been bragged about, the successes of what the Arts Commission has been able to achieve, then it's not clear to me what we're fixing by making this move. And it's, having said that, it would, I'm not sure that it creates a problem if we were to support it. So I am absolutely a supporter of the arts. I went to listen to Andrea Bocelli at the Climate Pledge Arena last night, and I'm taking my son to the Eagles concert on Saturday night up there. And I go to the Harbor History Museum, and every time they put chalk on the sidewalks, I walk around the city and appreciate them with my wife, and all that stuff. So so those are my thoughts.
I think Commissioner Hoeksma, you have a point, because I was looking at seeing that it already is in the comprehensive plan. And the way that I think I was kind of looking at it was that this really is just almost a revision of the plan. And I was wondering if we were to approve this or move this forward in terms of adding a new element, because right now the cultural arts programs and resources section is underneath the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space element. And that makes sense because a lot of those take place within Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces. But the whole notion of culture and arts and what they're talking about isn't always associated with a park, recreation space, or open space. So it can make sense that if you want to be a little bit more encompassing in terms of arts and culture, that it would be its own thing separate from parks, but could be related because the arts can take place in the parks and that sort of thing, but also is its own separate program within, which is why we have an art commission and we have a parks commission. So I would be in favor of saying, yes, it makes sense to have a separate element within the comprehensive plan, but then that the parks element needs to get reconfigured such that maybe it doesn't discuss the arts, or it keeps it more related to the parks and open spaces specifically, and that the arts and culture is moved into its own element in terms of the city really backing arts and culture as its own separate entity, and something that the city feels is just as important as a park or open space is.
Amanda, I think those are some excellent points, and I concur with you.
Hey, Bob, you're muted.
I'm sorry, Amanda. I didn't notice there are other cultural parts within the parks element above and beyond those 2 pages that I think we all were able to find. Are you suggesting it needs to be kind of cleaned up a little bit? If the parks scene needs to be cleaned up?
That was just my question, was if we were to adopt a whole separate element related to arts and culture, the one that has been proposed, would, and I haven't read the wording in side by side to see what they are and if there's overlap between them or not. But just in reading the part that's under the parks element right now, it says the purpose of this section is to delineate the importance of the arts, which seems very much in line with what this arts and culture element is really intending to do as well. So it would make sense that the part, if it were to be maintained within the plan within the Parks and Recreation one, would be specific to Parks and Recreation, and not separate from it like this whole element is that has been created. That's kind of outside of our purview in terms of what we're doing right now, but that does kind of beg the question and whether both would be necessary in the long term.
Well, hey, Carl, wouldn't you clean that up routinely?
We would. Thank you, Commissioner Soltis, and thank you, Commissioner Bennett. I was going to try and chime in a little bit here on that. The original proposal from the Arts Commission was to remove this language from the PROS plan if and when we were to create a new culture and arts element or arts and culture element. But that is not that the purview of the application has changed to this point that we're not going to do both simultaneously, because that does require that we engage, with the Parks Commission in order to make some changes to that element and allow them to weigh in. And so it's really more appropriate to do that when we are working on our overhaul of the comprehensive plan for 2024, which we're going to be working on here real soon. So absolutely, I think that makes perfect sense what all of you are stating here, that it should be either cleaned up or it should maybe be more specific to the parks, or just removed altogether if there is an arts and culture element where this could be contained. But that sort of was the intent of this originally in 2018.
Other thoughts? Okay, so a couple of you have indicated that you thought some language needed to be cleaned up, and you're going to have to help me with process here, Carl. But if we were to change or want to change the language, I think that we would have to have an amendment proposed and then a motion proposed about that amendment. Isn't that correct? And then a vote on that, and then we return to the consideration of the motion for the overall decision.
It would sort of work like that, Commissioner Huxma. Would be someone would make if someone would make a motion to adopt the amendment as written, and then there would maybe be a second. And then someone could say, then there would be discussion, and during that discussion, someone could make an amendment to that motion to amend the language and make a statement as to what that amended language would look like, and you would vote on that, and then come back to the original motion.
Okay.
And also, someone could make a motion to just amend the language as it is written with some amended language, with some edited language. That could be the original motion as well.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Does that make sense, Chair? I'm sorry if I'm mincing words there for you.
Well, I think what I just heard you say is that we could have a motion to a recommendation, but that some, for lack of a better word, some wordsmithing still needed to be done on the language of the amendment before it's codified in the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I think, the easiest way to do it would likely be if everyone agreed to some edited language in the element as it is written right now. Someone could make a motion to recommend approval of this this proposed element with the language as edited, as however that verbiage ends up playing out, so that it's just one succinct motion in the end. So I think if there are recommendations for amendments to the language, just somebody putting them out on the table to discuss right now is probably the best direction to go.
Okay, so could you just help me with understand the timeline? So if we had a motion and then we recommended the council to approve this and then council does approve it, what's the timeline of when that would become a part of the comprehensive plan? And because I think the whole plan is up for review in 2024, is that correct?
Yes, it is, Chair. We'll actually be starting that work preliminarily next year, probably. And then really getting going on it in 2023, and then it's due to be amended fully in 2024. So if this language, if let's just say this amendment is adopted as written or is recommended to be adopted as written, it goes on to the council. Council would hold a first reading and a second reading of the ordinance that would be associated with this amendment. And then once adopted, it would be immediately effective upon the execution date of that ordinance. It should be 10 days after the meeting.
So since we just make recommendations to the council, there would be an opportunity for cleaning up of language after we made a recommendation to council.
Can you say that again, Chair? I'm sorry.
Since we're only making recommendations to council,
Mm-hmm.
we could forward this with an endorsement saying, yes, we recommend that this become a separate element.
Yes.
And that does not preclude an opportunity for cleaning up the language of the amendment after we make that recommendation, since it doesn't become codified until council goes through the public hearing process and so on.
Well, it would be at that point, it would be up to council to make any changes to the language.
Right.
Once you've made your recommendation, then it's out of your hands at that point. If that's what you're saying, then that's correct. Yes, the council certainly could make changes or edit this how they see fit.
Okay. All right. Well, the floor is open for a motion.
Greg, I'd like to actually talk about a couple of potential changes. Is that the motion you're referring to?
Well, I think if I understand, Carl, what we need to do is we need to make a motion regarding this amendment. And then if someone seconds that motion, then we'll have a discussion and debate. And during that discussion is when we would consider changing the language.
That's one way, Chair, or you could follow with Commissioner Soltis and talk about amended language and see if there's some general consensus that you would like, that everybody agrees with those edits. And then there could be one succinct motion recommending that the amendment be adopted with that edited language associated.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation about the best way for us to approach it?
I think the way I just described it would be the easiest way for the commission if it works out that way, unless someone feels strongly about adopting the amendment as written.
Okay, well, Bob, why don't you, or Commissioner Soltis, why don't you let us know what you were thinking about changing some language.
Okay, just a general comment first, and then I'll go into a couple of specifics. This is got a lot of information in here that's, I would say, not normally in a comprehensive plan element. For example, Carl, can you put the actual words up on the screen, or Michelle, so maybe you guys can actually follow along with me? It's like the 5-page document. Yeah. Okay, on page 3, there's that blue box, at least there is on my part. Yes, this page right here. I'm not sure why this would need to be in the comprehensive plan element. This is a nice description of the Arts Commission. But I don't really know why that would be in here. And also, I should note that several of the points that it makes, the bullets on this blue chart are very similar to some of the other information on the previous chart that are on page 2. It talks about numerous outcomes and its goals, including the following. It looks duplicative to me, not necessarily one for one, but kind of concept to concept. So I'm wondering what the value added was for the Arts Commission page. And a second general comment is it also talks quite a lot about the survey results. And it goes into specific percentages and so on and so forth. I would think that that could be just turned into a bullet and said a survey of the community indicated extremely strong support for the arts and culture. I don't know why putting all that detail into the plan itself is that critical. And thirdly, and this is a specific comment, it goes to the very last, second to the last page, where they talk about 14.3.3, advocating for the inclusion of the arts in the Peninsula School District STEM program. I'm not so sure that that's really a role of a comprehensive plan to make that kind of recommendation as part of the city go forward plan. It seems very unusual, and I'm not an expert in comprehensive plans yet, but putting this kind of information in a comprehensive plan seems like a little bit of an overreach to me in terms of a plan for the Gig Harbor area. And I know many people believe this is important, but I'm not sure that this is the place for that. I'll shut up for a minute and see if anybody else is with me on that, or if I'm just kind of the Lone Ranger and we should move on.
I can speak right away to that blue box that's in there that you were talking about. That actually comes right out of the Parks and Recreation open space. It's almost verbatim already in the PRO's open space element from there, that they just took that out and put that into this new element and gave it its own box for some reason. But that is text that comes right out of the Parks and Recreation section already. I'm not sure why they separated it out in this element in particular.
Bob, I think you make a good point with reference to the discussion on the survey. And I think we should shorten that to say that there is significant community support for an arts and cultural element in the comprehensive plan, and leave it at that. And I also believe that you're correct that it's probably not our position to suggest to the school district what they should do with the STEM plan. So I'd be in favor of shortening the element on the survey and deleting the reference to the STEM plan.
Yeah, I concur about the survey because quite frankly, that survey data is already dated. I believe that survey was actually done in 2016, I think, if I remember correctly, but at a minimum it was 2018. So it's already 3 years old, and I agree it doesn't have a place in here with specific numbers.
I also wanted to say I agree with all the points you made. I think that, you're right on, that there are duplications of things that are already there. I also agree with the school district comment. And I think the survey, as you said, is outdated and is not really relevant in this particular document.
Okay, if we're ready for a motion, then I would move that we forward this proposal to the city council with the following changes. That number one, we shorten the reference to the surveys to simply make a statement that there is significant community support for inclusion of an arts element in the comprehensive plan. And number two, that we delete section 14.3.3 to eliminate the reference to the STEM program. So I'll do that as a motion.
And did you want to also address, John, the eliminating the blue box, since it seems to be addressed in other areas?
Yes, I'll agree with that. I think we can do that because I think that's already covered in this language.
So there's a motion on the table. Is there any second to that motion?
I just wonder if we remove the blue box, it's already currently in the one section. Would we decide to put that information back when the whole thing gets updated and you get rid of that other section in the parks? Or do we feel that the information in that box is pertinent? Or is it just extraneous information that we don't think really is necessary for this element?
I think Amanda is somewhat redundant.
Because I'm not sure that there's talk in other elements about commissions. It could be, it is kind of a standalone perhaps also, because I'm not sure that how much the comprehensive plan actually talks about the commissions.
Amanda, Commissioner Knox, where is that in the parks area?
It's, I think, 11.10, somewhere around there.
It's on page 11.8 of the prose element, under just after 11.9.6.
Oh, I see what they did. They just called it out separately and made it look a little differently. Got my attention. My concern is that that we may take something out here that is not in the new wording, and I just haven't done an exact word for word. I thought in general it looked very similar, but I hadn't tracked every single bullet to every single new bullet.
I believe it is verbatim.
To the new wording.
The blue box is essentially the same statement that starts under the second paragraph under cultural arts programs and resources on page 11-8.
Right, but I was referring to the new words, Carl, where they list
Okay, so it's already in the plan, then I would have no objection to leaving it in.
Yeah, maybe it's better to, rather than err on the side of maybe too much rather than too little in this case, because we don't want to remove the general intent of having it there in the first place, even though it might be a little bit duplicative. To at least my eye it was. But I would propose, John, that we stick with John's first set of wording that does not include the removal of the blue box, if you will.
Yes, that would be my motion.
Should we at least remove the blue highlight?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what purpose that serves. And I don't think it's consistent with the rest of the comp plan.
I second the motion then.
Okay, so motion is on the table. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, Carl, if you would switch back to participant screen. There we go. Michelle, you okay on the motion? Okay. Everyone, all the commissioners understand the motion that we're about to vote on?
Yes.
Good. Did you have Michelle read it back, please?
I write it down after everything's done since it gets changed all the time.
She's got a tape recorder.
Yeah, I get to listen to these again the next day.
Just for clarity's sake, I'll just say that I think the motion is to recommend approval of the amended of the element, the proposed element as written with 3 edits included. One, that the references to the survey are removed and just a mention of the survey is made. 2, that we delete section 14.3.3, and 3, that we remove the blue highlight while
That's
keeping
correct.
but keeping the verbiage.
That's correct.
And just maybe a nit, but I think we need to be specific that we are not just recommending that we're recommending the adoption of the arts and culture element as a standalone in the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
That's how I understand it, Chair.
Okay. All right. Okay, then. Motion is on the table. I think everybody understands at this point. So all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 All those opposed say no.
No.
So the motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. And then I think just for the record of note that Commissioner Bradbury is not in attendance this evening. That's why there's only 6 folks. Okay. Well, let me switch screens once again. Okay, so moving on to the next item on the agenda is a discussion of other business at our next meeting that's scheduled for November 18th.
At our regular time of 5 p.m.
Yes, thanks for that reminder.
Is something on the docket for that?
I think we're about to find out.
That's a question for me. We don't at the moment have anything planned for November 18th. Just double checking here.
Carl and I have been working on it.
The urban growth area analysis will be coming back to the Planning Commission, and November 18th is a possibility that we have something back from the consultant in time to get it to you all in time for you to consider it before we have that meeting. And so I will hopefully know a little bit more about that tomorrow. The consultant's working hard on pulling that together. So that would be what we have scheduled for the 18th. And so I hope to be able to bring that to you. If we don't have that, then I will not have anything to bring back to Planning Commission for the 18th, but we are planning to bring that. Beyond the 18th, we're hoping we have the moratorium on short-term rentals, which is Ordinance 1467. That will be coming to the Planning Commission, we're hoping in December. And we also have the interim zoning controls for emergency housing ordinance that was passed as Ordinance 1466 that we also hope to be bringing to Planning Commission in December or January. But we have to get working on those because we have 6 months at least on the, well, actually on both of them. So those will be coming in December or January. And then there will be some items once the 2022 budget passes, then we'll be able to start working on the work program for 2022. And as I noted earlier, or as I was showing you, that 2022 preliminary budget is up on the city's website for review. Just right on the main page, there's a link that'll take you right to it. So if anybody wants to review that and see what's in there right now, you can certainly do that. But in the short term, November 18th, urban growth area analysis, hopefully the final draft report will be ready. And it sounds like the meeting that you had that I missed recently was well received, and that the consultant did a pretty good job from what I saw.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for that, Carl. And before we adjourn, does anybody have anything else on their mind?
If I may, I'd like to get a better understanding of what problems or difficulties the council or the mayor saw in the area of short-term rentals. I just am drawing a blank at getting a bead on the problem they're trying to solve, or the problem they're. So Carl, how might we better know the mind or the intent of the council and the mayor on that subject?
Really putting me in the hot seat right now, Commissioner Brown. Just kidding. No, I would start with reviewing, if you haven't already, reading the ordinance 1467. And we could send links out to both of those ordinances if it's interesting to the Planning Commission to kind of get a head start on taking a look at those. But the ordinances have the whereas statements at the beginning that sort of run through the whys and hows of where the impetus for the council's decision. And also you could go and listen to the council meeting, and there may have been a study session on that as well. That should be public and up on the calendar. That would speak to all of the questions, probably have all the answers that you're wondering about. Also, when we bring this back to Planning Commission, we can certainly have some of that information at the ready that would hopefully answer those questions for you as well. But I believe. Oh, sorry, Commissioner.
I'm sorry, Carol. I would really like to get a copy of that ordinance, and also note what in the way of complaints either to the police department or to other city organizations have there been about short-term rentals, or is that something that that was actually placed before the council?
Are you, Commissioner? So you're thinking of an actual record of complaints about short-term rentals that?
Yes, I am.
Might have.
Yeah.
That's certainly something that we will be researching, and we can research and bring back to the Planning Commission for their consideration. I think it's a good question. Certainly something that we do need to do some research on. And yeah, we can definitely have those statistics.
If you could
Thanks.
also, in preparation for that for us, Carl, provide to us the process and the cost associated with applying formally to function as an Airbnb. Because I think the commissioners will hear a shocking number when they realize how much money it costs. And one of the issues that was stated explicitly in the ordinance, or the, like the declaration, or we'll put the moratorium statement, was that there are 46 or something Airbnbs that you can find on the various Airbnb, VRBO websites, and there's only 4 or 5, I think, that are currently licensed in Gig Harbor. So
I think only one is currently licensed, then there are 4 or 5 other applications pending.
yeah, so thanks for that correction. So anyway, I don't know if they're just, someone found out that number and they're trying to get ahead of the game and head off a potential problem, but this is a buzz all over the world, and certainly all over the country. And there are some cities that have, I just heard on the radio 2 days ago, some city that banned them altogether. So anyway, I think it's important for us to have as much data as we can possibly have about what the process is involved here. And I think John raises a good point about have there been complaints already? And what, once again, what is the problem we're solving?
Thank you very much for all those questions. That's really helpful. And that will make the first meeting, bringing it back to you, I think, that much more fruitful. So I do appreciate all that.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks, Commissioner Brown, for bringing that up. So, okay. I had something else on my mind before we adjourned, but now I can't remember what it was because of all the other fascinating discourse. So, oh, I know what it was. Michelle, if you could please send an email out to all the commissioners and just kind of pull, I don't know if you can make a chart, but pull everyone about their availability for the planned meetings, since the holidays are coming up. We need to make sure that we're going to be able to have a quorum at each of the meetings through the end of November and probably the first week of January, because I assume people are going to be traveling and so on, or having out of town guests. So I think that might be helpful for us as you guys are planning how to stuff the schedule for us.
Appreciate that, Chair. That's a great idea.
All right.
I will get that out Monday.
Okay, thanks. And speaking of stuffing, if you happen not to have a meeting in 2 weeks, then happy Thanksgiving to all of you. And but maybe we'll see you before that, and stuff your birds. With that, I shall call the meeting adjourned at 7:33 p.m.
We haven't had a motion yet.
Yep.
Oh, sorry about that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So all those in favor, if there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 The motion passes unanimously, and now it's still 7:33 and the meeting is adjourned.
Very
Good
good.
night, everybody.